It all started in Avonia in the summer of 2016. Nathan Calabria and Fredrik Foxpaw were hanging out together at a local cafe and drinking hot chocolate. Until then, to their surprise, they saw Crash Bandicoot sitting at the end of a counter. Nate and Fredrik were so happy to see him again, but Crash was feeling down because he's not so popular anymore. It has been 8 whole years since he hasn't gotten a new game for new consoles. But since Nate and Fredrik are hero helpers, they've got a plan. They are going to help Crash get his mojo back by proving to the world that Crash is still a beloved game series. So they all came to the wise Justin's tower, where it is now owned by his powerful teacher, Angeline the Pegasus. She told the men to help Crash prove to the world he's still available. Crash has to start at the very first beach of his old island home, Insanity Island. Cosmo the Cosmic Cat used his teleportation powers to send the heroes to that island. And when they arrived, it looked just like Crash remembered it, but in a much better definition. Crash was so excited to go through the island like he used to in the late 1990s. As Crash ventured through the jungle, he found a crate containing his old mask friend, Aku Aku. When he was free from his prison, he and Crash were both happy to see each other again. Nate and Fredrik told Aku Aku what they're doing back on the island. They have to prove to the world that Crash has still got it. So Aku Aku agreed, and he wanted to help too. Crash needed to get back into shape first, and by doing that, he has to run, jump, and spin through the island jungle. Crash, Fredrik, Nathan, and Aku Aku ventured through the jungle and came upon a big wooden gate. There was no way to go through it, so they had to go over it. And when they made it to the other side, they got chased by a few boulders running down the hills, but they made it safely down. Crash and his friends followed up a creek to a native village. The heroes were hiding so they won't start a fight with the natives, until suddenly they saw 2 natives carrying Crash's long-lost sister, Coco Bandicoot. They had to save her somehow, because the natives were going to cook her and eat her. But in order to do that, Crash has to beat the natives' chief, Papu Papu. He's a big bad man, and he hates trespassers. As Papu slammed his staff on the floor, Crash bounced on his head a few times, until he got knocked out. Nate and Fredrik were untying Coco in the meantime, and as Coco got free, she hugged Crash because she was so happy to see him again. Crash was happy too, until the heroes told Coco that Crash needs to get back into the zone once again. Coco wanted to help too, so she came along with the men and off they went. Coco figured a way off this island. There's a boat in another village at the end, so Coco led Crash and his friends through the rolling stone jungle, and she was doing good there. She did a lot of jumping and spinning like Crash does. Along the way, Nathan asked Coco why she was on the island. She answered that she was looking for Crash, Crunch, and the other Bandicoots by going to Insanity Island and detecting them with Coco's Bandicoot detector on her computer. When they made it to another native village, Crash wanted a faster way to get to the end of the island, so he jumped on a boar and it started to run. The others decided to catch up with Crash by taking another route. Soon our heroes made it to the end of the island. They just had to go up and over another fence the natives built. They found a boat and paddled to another island. Coco has detected another Bandicoot nearby, and it's up on top of a waterfall. It was a mad Bandicoot scientist named Brain Bandicoot. He was being held captive by the crazy kangaroo, Ripperoo. The only way to get past Ripperoo was to defeat him by blowing up big TNT crates near him. It took a lot of time, but after defeating Ripperoo, the other heroes saved Brain Bandicoot, and he came along with them on their journey. Crash is getting better at his skills like he used to, and he's excited to be popular again someday. Crash and Coco ventured through the temple ruins. They were hard to jump onto, and the temples were so dark and filled with spiders, snakes, and bats. Coco has picked up another reading on her computer. It's another Bandicoot, and it's on the other side of a rickety, fragile, dangerous bridge. They had to cross it. The planks were falling off, and some of the planks were slippery. It took a bunch of lives for our heroes, but they finally made it across. Coco found the signal detection. The next lost Bandicoot is somewhere inside a mine built in a volcano. When they came inside, they came across Koala Kong. He is a big, tough, and beefy muscle man that wants to hurt Crash. So he was throwing big rocks at Crash, but he was dodging them and sometimes spinning them. Koala Kong grabbed a real big and heavy rock and threw it at Crash until he spinned it back at Kong. After a few more hits, Kong was defeated, and to the hero's surprise, they found Crash's big, strong brother, Crunch Bandicoot. Crunch explained to the heroes of what's happening now. He told everyone that the bad guys are back. Pinstripe is polluting the ocean with his toxic facility, and Crash's arch-enemy, Dr. Neocortex, is back in business with his old partner, Nitrous Brio. And together they've captured Crash's long-lost girlfriend, Tawna Bandicoot. So now that Crash is back in the zone, he's ready to challenge Cortex once again. Nathan, Fredrik, and the Bandicoots want to help too. It's going to be tough, but our heroes can handle it. Our heroes came across the water to the third island where Pinstripe's Cortex power facility has been held. They were about to go in, but the door was shut tight. Coco then saw an air vent on the left side, so she thought she could fit through there and find a way to open the door for the rest of the team. After she survived all that heavy machinery she went through, she found a switch to open the front door manually. Crash led the way into the facility. He ran and jumped across gaps with toxic slime, jumped over red-hot pipes, ran through the dark generator room, and avoided barrels rolling down the hall. Until finally, they encountered Pinstripe. He was crazy because he was shooting rapidly with his Tommy gun. After Crash dodged and spinned Pinstripe, he was defeated, and the facility power generator got broken and shut down. So the facility stopped polluting the water, and Pinstripe went out of business for Cortex. Suddenly, Nathan found a message written on the floor. It said, "Crash, I've been taken to the castle." It was a message from Tawna, Crash's long-lost girlfriend. Crash and the gang had to cross the rickety bridge to Cortex's castle. When they reached the castle, the entrance was locked, but Crash sees a lever way up top of the castle wall. Crash had to climb up that wall. It was wet, slippery, and dangerous up there because it was raining. It took Crash a lot of lives to reach the top, but Crash finally made it and opened the castle gate for his team. As Crash's friends went into the castle, Aku Aku told them that he and Crash will meet each other inside. It was very dark in the hallways Crash went in, but luckily for him, Aku Aku had illumination powers to light the way. Coco ventured through the dark castle caverns while the others were finding their own ways around. When they finally caught up with each other, they could hear Crash's girlfriend Tawna calling for help. When Crash rushed into the room, it turned out to be a record player playing Tawna's voice over and over. And to Crash's surprise, it was Cortex's lab assistant, Dr. Nitrous Brio. Brio drank a chemical that turned him into a big green monster. He thought he could turn into a monster to destroy Crash. But after Crash bounced on Brio's head a few times, he became dizzy and fell out of a window. Crash, Coco, Nate, Fredrik, Brain, and Crunch decided to split up into groups and look for Tana and Cortex. Coco and Brain ran through the lab halls with tricks and traps. Until they reached the end, they found Crash and Coco's animal friends. There was Crash's polar bear, Polar, Coco's tiger, Pura, and baby T-Rex. Crash and Crunch went through the Great Hall, and at the end of the hall, they found Tana. Crash and Tana were so happy to see each other again. Fredrik and Nathan had found a computer room where there's a lot of switches that control the castle. Nathan saw a castle self-destruct button and said that it could be useful. Fredrik looked out on the balcony and saw Cortex's airship, which was controlled by Crash and his friends. It looks like they're making an escape, so Nate thought of an idea to destroy Cortex's work of evil. He pressed the self-destruct button, and he and Fredrik made a run for it to the blimp. A few minutes later, the castle exploded and caught on fire. Crash and all his friends did a great job, but suddenly something was zapping the blimp. It was Dr. Neil Cortex himself. Crash climbed to the top of the airship and had to face Cortex by himself. Every time Cortex zapped a green electric ball, Crash spinned at them, hitting Cortex back. It looked like it was the end for Crash, but he defeated Cortex and he won. Soon the heroes flew the airship back to Insanity Island. As the team were walking down the beach, Coco said that it's great that they're back together again. But Brain asked, what are they going to do now? Nathan suggested that the Bandicoots should go to their old home. Fredrik said that now that the Bandicoot team is back together, they definitely deserve a new game. Aku Aku had a great idea. He thought that some game company named Activision should make a remake of the first 3 Crash Bandicoot games. Everyone agrees that it's a fantastic idea. Coco was thinking of sending an email message to Activision about the Crash Trilogy remake. But first thing was first, Crash's home needed repairing. When the Bandicoots saw their house, it was all abandoned and broken. The house was covered in vines, crawling with spiders, and the wooden parts were all broken. Well, it's been a whole lot of years since they lived at their old home. Crunch said that this shouldn't be a problem. They can fix it up in time before the next adventure Crash will have. Nathan and Fredrik would like to help, but they'd have to go back home to help more people. Aku Aku thanked the men for helping the team get back together, and Crash shook Fredrik's hand while Nathan gave Crash a hug. Nate was so happy to help Crash, and they were both excited for a remake of a new era for Crash Bandicoot. And that was how it all started.